Okay guys, I'm here today with Guilherme Mendes, huge honor for me, Tainan. Guys, we just shot an entire instruction with Guilherme, all about like how to control the distance when you're passing the guard, and he's one of the very best ones on this. And Guilherme, I think everybody used to watch you competing, and everything you used to do was so well calculated, and you had probably like the best passing that I've ever seen, especially on your weight division. So.
Yeah, like when we were talking last time you came here doing the DVD, and when we finally decided that we were going to do it, I was thinking like, what should I teach for my first instructional? Because I really wanted to teach something that was very related to my game, competing, and was also something that people could see nowadays when the AOJ students compete. Like they could see all these techniques, all these concepts in action in the competition. And I had multiple different ideas. I was thinking about like a certain technique that would be very good. But in the end, like I came up with the idea of teaching distance control on top, because to me, like the concept was always like this. The way we train Jiu-Jitsu, the way we learn Jiu-Jitsu was always studying and trying to not only discover new techniques, not only create new techniques, but also trying to understand what the other person's thinking, like how they're gonna approach the fight. And it's always like this, like that. The more you understand something, the better you get, because then like you can predict things, you can be more creative. And distance control helps a lot with the sparring part, because if you understand the distance control, you can avoid getting caught in the game of the person that is fighting against you. So like I'm gonna show you guys a couple examples of like how you apply this knowledge and how you can use this to strategize for a competition. But like whenever you watch everything, like you see the distance, the difference between being really close to the person and what scenarios you're gonna face there, versus like when you're far away from the person. Like you understand very well what I'm talking about. Like, and like it's really cool how you can keep using the same techniques that you like to use, but you just understand. If you understand this knowledge, it becomes like a tool that's very important for you. Like if you see my brother, for example, like he is a person that passes from far distance. Like he uses a lot of leg drags and leg works. Like he's always moving side to side. And then whenever you watch me fighting, I fight from a different distance. We use similar techniques. We use a lot of like leg drags, knee slide, leg traps, but my distance is different. Like I fight from a distance where you can control the collars instead of controlling the pants. So we call median distance, where like you're much closer to the person. The person is able to use more de la riva, reverse de la riva. And you guys, whenever you watch the full DVD, and then you start watching fights again, like you competition footage, you're gonna see the difference in the game of like every person that you watch.
Yeah, no, and when I remember you competing, you were one of the only guys on your division that would not pull guard so fast, and you would wait for them to pull, and you would trust that you would pass the guard. And I have all those memories of like you mixing up like knee cuts, getting the half guard. It was always like.
And it's something, it's cool because like my professor, like whenever I got to the black belt, was me and my brother competing always in the same division. And then when we got to the black belt, I remember that my professor, he started saying like the way you pass on top and the understanding that you have on passing will make it very difficult for that style of game in the light feather division. Like everyone there, like they fight with like that distance where they play spider guard, they're very flexible. And your understanding on closing, going from far distance to the near distance where you're very tight, will make it very difficult for them. And I felt that whenever I was competing, I remember that like people would start like feeling really comfortable and controlling, and then as I was putting pressure and shutting down their game and getting closer, they were very uncomfortable. And that was the main thing for me. Like that built a lot of my confidence over the years, like winning the tournaments, but also seeing like how uncomfortable I was able to make my opponents feel.
No, I'm interested to see and to learn.
I'm gonna start showing, like, can you go on body time now? So normally, like, for distance is when the person is playing from here, where the person, they normally use spider guard, they use, they use any kind of guard where, like, they're using the legs much more. So, like, from far distance is normally here. You're gonna see a lot of, like, this kind of control, where you can move your legs, but they're controlling the upper body.
Yep.
And then you have medium distances where, like, you see the way I fight, the way Tainan fights, like, it's from, normally you go to reverse La Riva, you're using a lot of knee cuts, you use a lot of, like, leg traps. And the next one is the near distance, when you have the half guard pretty much, or you have a leg drag where, like, you're really close to the person.
Yep.
So the way I taught this DVD, I broke down all three. I showed, like, drills and scenarios for all three. And for me, whenever I'm, like, talking to them about the competition and I'm trying to create strategy, like, based on the opponent's games, like, that's how we analyze the fight. So for example, like, if I'm gonna fight against someone that is really good playing spider guard, right? So the person, they feel really comfortable in the far distance because they have a lot of space, they have good hip mobility here, they can control. So it's really hard to make the person get tired from this distance because that's what they train, that's what they feel comfortable, that's what they face every day in training. But if you understand that and now you close the distance, you're gonna make the person fight out of the comfort zone. You're gonna make them fight in a distance where they're not comfortable. So normally I start escaping and my goal is to get to this distance now. Why? Because now there's no spider guard anymore. Now he's using reverse La Riva. Now he's using his upper body, like, to frame.
Got it.
And before he was only using his legs and the hands were just he was only using for the grips.
Yep.
So, like, by understanding that, it doesn't matter what technique you use, your only goal in the fight is to get out of that distance and close the distance.
Yeah, so the idea is to go, like, from far to middle to near.
Sometimes you go straight from far to near. Yeah, so, like, sometimes, like, if you're here and then you're able to break the control and you get close, I can go straight from one far distance to the near distance. But the main idea is to understand all three and the difference and start recognizing which one your opponent is using. Because if he's using far distance and he's comfortable there, I cannot stay there because, like, yes, I can beat the person, but I'm gonna go in the hardest way as possible, like where the person is comfortable. So I always try to take them out of the comfort zone and make them feel uncomfortable. So for example, like, a person that plays half guard, for example, like your game. So you like to feel comfortable with a person in the near distance, right? Because you have access to underhooks, you have access to the lapel, right? So if I stay here, by watching you, if I put myself in this situation, I know that I'm fighting where you feel comfortable.
That's exactly
right. Like that's exactly what you want. Now, if you're fighting against a person and the person doesn't let you control the legs, like they're here, like,
yeah, it's gonna be much harder for me to get
much harder for you. Why? Because the person is using the far distance. They don't give you the chance to use the positions that you feel comfortable. And, like, this is part of, like, what we do here, what, like, I always did as a competitor. I always try to study my opponents, my brother's opponents, and that's what I try to do for them.
So that's a question I have. So you would fight against someone, you would plan the far distance, near distance according to their game. So you consider that guy is more half-guard, you don't want to go to the near distance, you want to do more like far and
far distance or medium distance, yeah.
Alright, that's incredible.
Yeah, and, like, this kind of, like, understanding, it's what I think, like, a lot of people they miss because, like, they focus a lot on just doing a technique. For example, like, I'm gonna fight against a guy that does, like, half guard, for example. I'm gonna get the underhook and knee cut. This is the first thought that the person, like, will have. Like, I get the underhook, so the person doesn't have the control over my leg or my back. And then with the underhook, I finish the knee cut. But how many times you train that position with the person getting the underhook and you're regaining the underhook? So, like, this is the scenario that you train every day in class, right? It's like, yes, maybe if you fight against someone that is stronger than you, it's better than you, the person will be able to go to the hardest way and still win.
Yep.
But like the smartest thing to do is to go to a different scenario and make you fight in a scenario where you don't train, you're not comfortable. So if I was going to fight against someone that plays half guard and like fights like controlling my leg and getting under hooks, yeah, I'm going to stay away from the person and start using leg drags and moving the legs away to force the person to give me the back instead of hugging my leg and come up in a single leg. It's like, I think like this is what's going to be special about this DVD, what's going to make people like it and be able to implement not just techniques but a lot of concepts in their game and understanding. And one thing that's cool too is that whenever I was doing it, I was trying to be like complete with everything. I was like, the first impression is always like what it sticks, you know, and like what like people.
That's our first one.
And like I was like, man, like I wanted to be for people to have a good experience when they watch and like to see like how my work is. So I did multiple different things that I showed the technique, all three, like I showed the concepts, all three concepts, and then I did a list of drills. Like I think that we have like 20 drills of techniques that you can use to improve your leg work and improve your understanding. So like after you watch everything, like you go over that drills and you drill that 20 techniques. And for sure we will improve your leg work, will improve your technical level there. And I also did, I broke down a couple rounds of sparring. Like I was sparring in the academy and like they were filming. And voiceover and like, so you can understand like how I think whenever I'm fighting, because like I'm trying to describe exactly how I see the fight. And I also did a little bit of the breakdown with my students competing. So this is something that's cool too because it shows different people, different weight classes, different body types using the same concepts, the same system. And I really believe like people will like it a lot and will be very important for them to go from being just like a person that fights hard in the academy to a person that actually like understands and is able to think before they put the plan in action.
Oh, Gui, and another thing I would ask you, so I saw your entire career, right? I saw you from blue belt to black belt. I used to follow you and that kind of stuff. And you guys pretty much changed in Jiu-Jitsu. Like, and there was a point when you guys were purple or brown belt that people started hearing about beating bolos. Mm-hmm. And then when you guys got to the black belt, everybody was playing the beating bolo.
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge advantage to you guys as well, because all your opponents were trying to do what you guys do the best. Yeah. And when I see you passing guard, that was related. Yeah. I used to see a lot of people trying to do De La Riva against you guys and beating. I was like,
this is cool because this is exactly how I see it. Like I remember, like my brother was always like his guard was like the most special thing in the training. Like we were talking here before about like the training and man, like his guard was like the diamond in the training. Like everyone was like, oh my god, like his guard is amazing. He can like take everyone's back and submit everyone. Like nobody can pass this guard. And the fact that I was his main training partner and I was training on top the whole time.
Oh, yeah, because he was pulling guard.
He was pulling guard. Every time we would train, like he was pretty much on bottom and I was on top. And I was the kind of person that I was always trying to emulate his opponents too. So like I was always watching like the guys that he was fighting and then trying to do exactly what the guys would do so he could like kind of like feel that in the training and get prepared. So I think that's how I built my confidence on top. That's how I built my game on top. And people only were able to see that, like our top game and like the way we move in the black belt. Like before that, we were only guard players, like just like taking the back from the bottom. But I remember that things shifted a lot. Like we had this berimbolo phase where like we were like taking everyone's backs and stuff. And then whenever we went to the black belt, like I won every world title that I won in the black belt was on top, like playing on top, and in a division where like it was really hard to pass the guard, because like everyone was like flexible and good lasso, good spider guard, and like I believe like my last year was like when I really was able to use everything, like all my experience, and like that's why I was like, whenever I stopped competing, like I was very proud of myself, because that was like a performance where I felt happy with myself. I felt that like, you know, like as a competitor, like even winning worlds, like the other 3 world titles, like I felt good. I was able to beat good competitors, but I always felt that like you go there and like you could have done so much better based on how you train or how much you know. And this is the thing that probably like a lot of people that will be watching us, like they feel too. Like you go to the, you train a lot, and when you go to the competition, like your performance, even when you win, your performance is not as good as you know you can do. Yep. And there's a lot of stuff like holding you back. And my last worlds, like I felt that I did, like I was mentally, I was very like calm, like I was able to see the fight, like, and be thoughtful during the fight, understand what was happening. Like I didn't feel desperate in any second of the fight. And again, I think this is just was a lot of experience over the years, like with the confidence, like winning the competitions too, and a lot of study too. I think like in Jiu-Jitsu, it's important for you not only to be a person that fights hard. I tell my students all the time, like if you're just a person that scraps all the time and fights hard, Jiu-Jitsu will work for a period of time for you while you are young, athletic, energetic. But like after that, like you're not gonna be able to do it anymore, or people are gonna start using. If you find someone that has that same level of intensity and energy, they're gonna be able to shut you down. The person that has a very long career and can win a lot and can, even when they stop competing, they can still train good. Is the person that has a very good understanding. The person that like is very technical, and I think like that's always the path that we try to go. You know, always trying to be very technical, always doing a lot of study. We were always the people that sit after training and discuss like about techniques and like what we were going to do and like how people were fighting and what techniques we saw in the competition, and it all paid off. You know, like this hours of study, these hours. I'm still like this. Like I was not able to go to Pan Ams now, but like I was watching every competition. I was like every fight I was watching, like all the black belts, and like, and I think that's what keeps you improving. Keeps like if you already have this mindset of like studying and improving, and you use that even when you stop competing, like to keep evolving, like that's something that's very special. And I think like everyone should have like this mindset of like studying Jiu-Jitsu, not only fighting hard. You can fight hard always, but like if you study Jiu-Jitsu, you always be better.
No, I agree. And we always heard that you were the scientist, and you were always the one like studying, calculating everything and that. And I think now I have the proof here, like, and many others still like about how.
Yeah, like, but he's just like I tell him all the time, like Thailand, it's very similar to what I was and what my brother was when we were his age. Of course, like every generation that comes, like you get better faster because you get to learn like things faster. But like the approach that he has now, it's like it's very similar. Like he's a person that also like is always like studying, always like trying to like talk about the techniques that he saw and discover like new ways to bring this to his game. And yeah, I think this is the main lesson for everyone watching. Like, don't be the person that just fights hard. Be the person that fights hard, but also study a lot of Jiu-Jitsu and like be very technical, because that will always put you ahead. Will always make you perform better in training and perform better in the competition for sure.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so guys, Gui just shot this entire instructional all about like figuring out the distance on how to pass the guard when you were on top, and it came out really, really good. And it's going to be at bjjfanatics.com soon. Maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So make sure to check that out. And thanks so much, Gui.
Thank you.
Thank you.